rolling.
Me? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to tdtmotorcycles podcast. My name is Mitch.
And my name is Gleb, and you can follow me on Instagram at GlebLapham.
And I am at Meach to the Beach, and you also have our podcast socials at tdtmotorcycles, and that's on YouTube as well. So, yeah. Go ahead.
And you can shoot us an email at tdtmotorcycles@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, topic suggestions, or just want to share your bikes or ride stories with us. We always like hearing from you guys. And we're back just to being two dudes this week.
Yep. Back to your
regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today, Mitch?
Well, I think today we're going to be talking about the cost of ownership, and that it will entail stuff like maintenance, parts,
miscellaneous
maybe
purchases.
even time.
That's true. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of the time.
Yeah,
because time is money.
It is.
That's so they say.
Yep.
That's going to be our main topic for today. But before we jump into that, we have a couple of just one little tidbit of news, and it's about the new Can-Am Pulse and Can-Am Origin. And I believe earlier this year you saw like either a rumor or like a teaser for them, and you brought them up.
Yeah, I think it might have even been like last year, because we were in my old place. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but anyway, they've come to fruition. Looks like so.
Both of them are purely electric motorcycles, which can cause some controversy in the motorcycling world if you don't follow the news or don't really like follow particular motorcycle models. There's kind of a big disconnect between traditional gas powered motorcycles and then companies trying to bring in like electric bikes, and with electric cars becoming more of a norm and seeing more of them, it feels about right that there'll be some electric bikes on the market.
Yeah,
and this isn't the first one. We have Livewire from Harley Davidson, and there was also
the
Zero bikes, and
there's something else too. There's a few others.
I can't remember. There's probably a few. There's Kawasaki, I think, had like a pure electric bike and a hybrid bike, which is
somebody. I'm trying to remember. Maybe there's somebody who's, it may not even be on the market, but they're either it's out or they're testing an electric bike that has a swappable battery.
Yeah, there was somebody that I can't remember the brand off the top of my head, but that's one of the solutions or kind of compromises to make a fast recharge time.
Yeah,
which I think is something that the short range and long charging times is what's probably keeping from more people from like being interested in them. Plus, you kind of lose out on the feel of the engine noise, the vibrations, and kind of like all the more like exposed stuff that you get on a motorcycle.
Yeah. It's like the stuff we've talked about before. That's stuff that me and you like. And I think that's why we were so excited about like the concept of like a hydrogen powered bike. Because you can still get that like combustion engine,
but with
feel.
A cleaner fuel source.
Yeah.
But these ones, they're pure electric motorcycles, and there's two models. So there's the Pulse and the Origin. The Pulse is the street oriented model, and then the Origin's the off-road one.
Yeah.
The Pulse comes with your standard is it 17 or 19 inch front wheel
for the
Pulse.
For the Pulse, let's see here. Had it, where'd it go? 17 front. Yeah,
17 front, 17 rear, and then the Origin comes with a 21 front and an 18 rear, and it's essentially like a dual sport.
Yeah, or like a small ADV-ish.
Yeah, small ADV with 10 inches of suspension travel, which is a pretty good bit. And comes with K&M or KYB suspension.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. And then the Origin's more of your street-oriented model. It comes with cast wheels and street tires, while the Origin has spoked wheels and comes with off-road tires. But both of them are purely electric.
Yeah, I'm looking at the claimed weight, where the Origin was at 390 and the Pulse is at 412. So it's not a ton of difference.
It's not a super. Well, it's a little bit. It's definitely heavier than like your average dual sport.
Oh yeah.
Or just straight up dirt bike.
Yeah, but between the two of them though, like from like the Pulse to the Origin, like you're not really losing. You're not losing that much like power to weight ratio.
Yeah.
For like the more off-road off-road-ish
Yeah.
oriented, you know. So,
and the interesting thing about these is they do have a liquid cooled battery. And the idea behind that is it's supposed to keep the battery temperature more consistent, so you get more efficiency out of it, longer range, and better recharge times because it's able to regulate its own temperature. But unfortunately, like the range is still where a lot of electric motorcycles suffer, and I feel like that will be the case for a while until we get some like dramatic shift in battery technology where we have either more dense batteries that weigh the same or batteries that charge quicker or something, because the claimed range on these is for the Pulse, it's 100 miles in the city, 80 miles combined, and then 55 miles highway at 50 mile per hour sustained speeds. And then the Origin is 90 miles in the city and then 71 miles combined.
yeah.
And 52.
And I have a problem with that highway statement because, you know, especially here in Utah, who's going 50 on
Oh,
the
yeah.
highway?
You're not going 50 on the highway.
You go 50 on a highway here, you're going to get rear-ended.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like you're going 50 on the back roads.
Yeah.
Most of the time. You're not going 50 on the highway. That's 75 plus.
Yeah. And that's not to like be a goon or anything. That's just to not get hit by another car.
Yeah,
or have other cars get mad at you.
That's just how fast people drive here, especially on the interstate.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it's set at like 50 miles an hour. Sustained speeds, which is not fast.
No.
Not fast for at least like the American West.
Or
Here. And with 100-mile range or 50-mile range, like at the bottom end.
Yeah.
I mean, from your house to my house, it's already like 40 miles, 30 miles. So like an hour long drive.
If you rode one of those here and then to go home, you'd have to hang out for
I'd have to wait for it to recharge.
Like if you wanted it 0 to 100 or even 20 to 80.
Yeah,
you're looking at 5 to 3 hours.
That's way too long.
Yeah.
I will say for at least the Origin. So the Pulse, I'm like, I don't know who, like I can't think of any person I know, like real or made up in my head, who would like buy that.
Well, I mean, I think I think I can think of people because, you know, like the coffee shop that I like to go to, you know, I run into motorcyclists, you know, and there's a lot of people I've met and they're just kind of like, I just like to kind of like putt around town, have little short rides here.
That's true.
So I think like, like it could be good for that, you know, but again, these people are, you know, they're on like, you know, not like the highest end bike. They're just like on something more just reasonable, you know?
Yeah. And these start at
a lot.
$14,000. So if you want to just putt around town at the Triumph Trident, 600 cc's starts at 10K.
Yeah.
That's cheaper. And it probably has a lot more than 100 miles of range.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I'm split because it's like, I love the innovation of like electric stuff. Like I think there's a lot of stuff there. I do agree though. It's like how I like the engine noise. You know, I like I love my parallel twin pops. You know, So it's like, so I love that. I'm just split. You know, on electric bikes or not. Like I see it being useful, and if they can make them more, well, like just bigger range, more useful for like the kind of riding we do.
Yeah.
You know, and like any kind of shit talking that we're doing on this bike, it's like, well, we don't ride like that.
No, we don't.
You know,
we typically do rides that are well over 100 miles, even if it's a day ride.
Yeah,
we'll be riding well over 100 miles. Yeah. And out here in the West, everything is so far apart. Even getting from one town to another, even like meeting up with friends, you're already putting in maybe like 20 miles.
Yeah,
easy, and it just doesn't seem viable to have that short of a range and such long recharge times unless you're just, you know exactly where you're going and you're going to be able to recharge it. And it just doesn't really make enough sense to like justify it, especially at that cost.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe this kind of, excuse me, maybe this kind of thing does make a little bit more sense. Like, you know, over in like somewhere like Europe where things are a little bit closer.
Yeah. Or like the East Coast and stuff.
Yeah. You know,
but then I feel like if someone just wants something to get around town, I mean, they could also get like an electric bicycle, which will probably do like, 25 to 30 miles an hour easy. Doesn't require a license. You can use bike lanes, which you can't do on the motorcycle. Doesn't need to be registered.
Yeah.
And they will cost like $2,000, $3,000 if you want a fancy one. I mean, they go up to like $5,000, really.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a bicycle, not a motorcycle, but
Yeah.
you can get a motorcycle for $5,000 that you can have way more fun on than that and not have to worry about range. So to me, it's just kind of it's this weird area where it's like the companies are trying, and I do agree with you where it's like, they're trying to innovate, they're trying to bring something out that's different or something that's new.
Yeah.
But I just can't think of a lot of riders that would pick something like that, because I think primarily the range is the biggest limiter. If it was like somehow had like even 150 or 200 miles,
right,
it would make it much more viable for more people.
Yeah. No, and I think it's I think a big problem like with electric bikes right now is like they're finding their utility, like where do they belong? Like stuff like this, like you're making like an off-road-ish, maybe that's good for someone's little property if they're ripping around somewhere, but like trying to make like an ADV electric bike that you can like go the distance on, it's doable if you have the time.
We did watch the Northern California BGR, and they did have 0 bikes, like there was 0 adventure bike.
Yeah, I forgot about that
on that trip, and they made it work.
Yeah,
but
how much planning had to go around that, where everyone else is on a gas bike?
Yeah, and you can just fill up pretty much anywhere, and it takes you 5 minutes to fill up versus waiting hours for the battery to recharge.
Yeah,
I'm
just holding out hope for the hydrogen powered bikes.
Yeah, we'll see what the future brings, but I will say for at least the origin on this, with the off-road oriented one, I could see maybe that being viable for like hitting some like off-road trails.
Yeah.
Like around that you can like quickly get from your house to and kind of zip around back and forth.
Yeah.
But the bike costs $15,000.
That's a lot for...
Yeah, you can get
not much bike, really.
No, you can get an older Honda or a brand new Honda like CRF 300 Rally.
Yeah.
Just their basic dual sport for $5,000 and go on your merry way.
Yeah.
And or you can get a used one for like $3,000, like an older used dual sport, and you won't care if you drop that because it's all plastic.
Yeah.
And it weighs like 100 pounds less than this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how these fit in.
I will say I do like the look of them.
I think, I do agree on that. They do look kind of dope. I do like that little phone compartment.
Yeah.
Up there in the front. Very BMW-esque, I feel like.
It's like, oh, that's luxury.
Yeah.
So, and they kind of remind me of like Husqvarna's like smart pillins.
I was thinking the same thing.
So I like them. I like the look of them. Like a really cool looking TFT, honestly.
Yeah. I think it looks okay. It kind of looks like an iPad that just stuck on there.
I kind of like that because
I do like the graphics on it.
Yeah.
At least.
Well, I kind of like the look of that because it's just like, it reminds me of like the newer cars, so it's just like, it's very futuresque.
That's true.
So I think it fits the vibe, but
for an electric bike, I kind of agree on that.
But yeah, I don't see myself being able to use this.
No, especially not for that price.
And I don't know much about electric bikes too. So like, if hypothetically, if I had one for whatever, for like a weekend or something, and I wanted to go ride up, big or little Cottonwood Canyon, how much does like, elevation, like hill grade affect power in your range?
And it's going to be, you're going uphill the entire time.
Yeah.
So that probably will kill the range. At least the one tiny benefit I can think of is like they're not as affected by like altitude and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they don't.
Well, you know me, like with my little gas tank on my Scrambler, it's like, oh guys, I'm at halfway. I need to fill up.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you guys have bigger,
even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but that's our little tidbit of news, and I haven't seen too many more.
I mean, I do just want to really include that with these, it's like I'm curious to see how they're gonna do. Again, I think it's cool that we're innovating and trying new things, like with the technology that we have, and like honestly, like the technology is not going to get any better unless we go through an awkward growing phase like this.
So that's a very good point.
That's my take. I remembered, and I tried to find it. Triumph Motorcycles did something like with an electric like dirt bike or like a little like mountain bike, electric mountain bike.
I don't remember that.
I saw it on their story.
I know Ducati has.
Yeah, they have their
electric bicycle.
Yeah,
not a motorcycle. Bicycle.
Yeah. Oh, and this is like.
So if you buy that, you can say you own a Ducati.
Yeah, I forget. I don't know what they're called. But they partnered with somebody, like the OSET. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. But it was pretty interesting because you had like their people. they had like their off-road riders like take them out and try them out, and I'm really just I'll come back to it if I can find it later on. But it was interesting because they're little electric light little things that you just throw into a truck or something and you take it out to the hills. And
interesting. I feel like I've seen not a Triumph specific one, but I have seen they're kind of like a weird in between like a bicycle and a dirt bike, essentially. They're not street legal.
Yeah.
They're powered by a battery, but they're just super lightweight. I don't know how much range they have, but there's like several models that have them where people pretty much kind of use them as a dirt bike, but they're purely electric.
Yeah. Okay. So I found them. So it's Triumph partnered with OSET, which is they make these little bikes here, and I can throw something up for the video when we edit it. But
that's kind of what I was just thinking or talking about.
So it's got like an electric motor down there, and like these guys, they're all like Triumph, like off road. I don't know if they're instructors, but they ride. In the video, they're kind of killing it.
That's cool.
They're chucking them around, and they look fun.
How much do they go for?
I don't know. Let's see what they. Can you imagine? What's your guess?
$5,000.
$5,000. Let's see. OSET. Oh, they're just kind of promoting like they have like their knee pads and waterproof. It doesn't say. Maybe they're interesting. Yeah, I don't see a price on them, but we can provide that later on.
Yeah.
So kind of cool. So
pretty interesting, but like, I mean, for like,
even like
$5,000, $4,000, you can buy a cheap old dual sport and go ripping around like single tracks.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about batteries.
Yeah. Just carburetors.
Yeah. Well, maybe not even that. I mean, you find some fuel injected ones that are pretty cheap too.
Yeah.
And if a bike is so cheap, you are not going to be scared of dropping it or whipping it with branches and things like that. So that's already like another
on our
benefit.
California trip, I really didn't want to drop my Scrambler.
I didn't want to drop my Tiger.
Yeah, and so like I can't imagine like I get like a $14,000 electric bike and I
drop it.
I'm gonna have the same problem.
Yeah. And bikes, as we know, are not the cheapest form of. You can make them as cheap or as expensive as you want. So I think that's kind of a good segue into our main topic today, which is like essentially the cost of ownership, the economics of owning a bike.
Yeah. And
to kind of like set up some context, I feel like it's important to bring this up. We do have most of our listeners are here in the States. But just in case someone is listening from a country where motorcycles are a lot more prominent or more or used more as like an everyday form of transportation.
Yeah, not a recreational vehicle. Not like
how they're classified here. Yeah, well, here, I mean, we pretty much ride ours on weekends. I mean, I know a few people who do commute on them and kind of ride them every day.
Yeah.
Or more often, but for me, it's mainly like a fun weekend thing. Yeah. Occasionally, I ride mine to work if I want to do a ride after or just switch things up a little bit. But for the most part, it is a fun toy versus like a necessity for me to get around.
Yeah.
Which is not the case in a lot of countries. I mean, me and you, we've been to Cozumel a couple of times just for vacation, and we see so many motorcycles.
Yeah.
We even
went
not
to
just
scooters, like 125cc bikes and
well, 50cc, 125cc bikes, and they sell them at like the grocery store.
Yeah.
You can buy them. They're like these cheap little Hondas or cheap little Chinese bikes.
Yeah.
That you can buy at the grocery store for like, I don't know. I think the equivalent of like $1,000.
There was like Hondas.
There was a bunch of
we can't get here.
Yeah,
but they're available in Mexico.
They had like the thinnest wheels.
Yeah,
the thinnest tires, like barely thicker than a mountain bike, and people were like riding two up on them. They had like kids in their laps and things like that. But you can kind of tell like this is more of a like I don't know if it's the primary mode of transportation, but it's something that they use probably like every day versus just saving it for the weekend.
Yeah, and to be like I don't want to be kind of like a devil's advocate to that too. It's like Cozumel, it's an island. I think like getting around like on that little island on a bike is a lot more convenient because the traffic
was bad
in the city.
Yeah, and the weather's always fine and blah blah blah. So it's just easier and it's probably way more cheaper than a car.
Yeah,
to get because I mean I don't remember how much they were at the grocery store, but I think they were like $1,000,
like 2 or 3 maybe. Yeah.
Like if that even.
If that, honestly.
And they were super basic. super basic.
We should have like bought one.
Oh my god,
the podcast, like split the cost of it, and then like see how much like getting it shipped to the U.S. would have been when we left.
But here in the U.S., it is primarily like a fun toy.
Yeah,
a fun toy to have, and probably a lot of like, I don't know. Probably a lot of countries have a similar kind of.
Well, I don't know about you, but like when I was looking at getting into motorcycling, right, I was just like, I just need like a hobby. I need like, I need to get that.
Same.
I need to get that feeling of freedom. I just need a hobby, right?
Yep.
Little did I know that it would take up my entire wallet and my personality.
Yeah.
And now now we have a podcast about motorcycles.
Exactly. So and I could imagine like, especially if it's like colder countries, it's probably less likely to be a primary mode of transportation.
Where it's cold year round, and
where it's like either cold year round or have like a proper winter and stuff. You don't want to have your bike be your only means of transportation in the winter, because that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But if you live in like a warm country or warm state in the U.S., then it's probably more likely that you might have a bike as your full-time form of transportation.
Yeah.
So today we're mainly going to focus on more like on what our experience of it. So if you are listening to this, and if you do have if your motorcycle is your primary means of transportation, I would love to I would love to hear from you and see whether it's like more cost effective than a car, or it's like less cost effective. What's your experience been like having a motorcycle as your only means of transportation? Whether you're in the US or in any other country, I would love to hear from you and kind of find out more about what that's like. But for us, it's more of a hobby. It's a fun weekend toy that we'll occasionally take on a week-long trip.
And so it's, I guess we'll just get into it now with pricing. Like, where do you want to start? Are you I'm thinking tires.
Let's start with tires.
Okay.
When I first had to replace a tire on my first bike, my Honda CB500X, I was surprised at how damn expensive motorcycle tires were. Like, I drive a basic ass Camry as my daily driver. It's old. The tires I get for are like $80 a pop from Walmart.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't really care. It's not a performance car. It's a Camry. I don't care about having fancy tires on it.
Yeah.
As long as the tires are okay and they last a decent amount of time, that's all that matters. And in my brain, or when I got my first bike, before I had to get a new tire for it, in my brain I was like, okay, the tire is smaller, thinner. There's only 2 of them. Therefore, it must be cheaper.
Yep.
It is not cheaper.
It sounds like you did the same mistake I did, or you made the same mistake I made, where I didn't research motorcycle tire prices before I got a bike.
No, I did not either. I just assumed they would be like, okay, maybe $100 or something if you want something nice. No, they get the tires I have on my bike.
Yeah.
I just got new tires. The rear one was like $240. The front was like $180.
Yeah. I feel
it's way more than I've spent. I've spent more on those 2 tires than I've spent on 4 tires on my car.
Well, that's what crazy. I thinking back the last time I had to replace tires on my car. It was my old car. My tires on my new one are still doing great. Benefits of working remote. I don't have to go anywhere.
Very true.
But but my last car, I think it was about like $500 to get all new tires aligned and put on.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, that sucks. That's a lot of money. And then with my bike. So actually I had a warranty recall on my Honda Rebel for tires. So they gave me new tires as a warranty thing.
Sweet.
It's like done. Perfect.
Easy.
So I didn't have to buy tires for almost 3 years for a bike.
That's nice.
You think. But
yeah, that's true. We're about to
yeah. And then it's like, all right. It's, okay, let's get some tires on the bike, on the Scrambler. Pretty much the same price.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Zero savings whatsoever.
It's insane. Motorcycle tires are not cheap. Whether they're off-road or street tires, they will go for 150 plus.
Yep.
Easy. Depending on the brand, depending on the compound, and whether you're getting some racing slicks or street tires. Yeah. I mean, there is some variety and you can save some money.
Yeah, and off-road tires. Yeah.
But it's hard to... So I feel like there's 2 factors involved. So the price and the longevity. Because you pay the $500 for 4 car tires, they're guaranteed for like 50,000 to like 80,000 miles, depending on the tire that you get.
Yeah.
Motorcycle tires, you're lucky if you get 10,000 miles out of it, and that's already on the top end of it. Shout out to like the Dunlop Trail Maxes, Trail Max missions that I have. Those lasted. I still have my old ones. Like I still decide to keep them just in case I get like a flat or a puncture, so I can like put on my old tire. They are almost at the wear bar, but not quite. So they have a little bit of life left in them, and they were at 12,000 miles, which I was very surprised. That's why I got the same exact set as I replaced them.
And honestly, like after pricing out the tires, because I was for my bike, right, I was looking at the Continental TKCs 80s.
Yeah,
the TKC 80s. But like reading the reviews on them, and then comparing to like the thinking about, I think what's important too, like for the type of tire is the type of tire you need for your bike, or what the kind of riding you want to do. Or, you know, we don't have that much experience like in the racing slicks or the roadster tires. Like we're looking for more like 50/50, 60/40 off-road tires for our ADVs. You know, and with the ADV tires, like you just don't get a lot of life out of them typically.
No, and it's a really big compromise. If you want better performance off-road, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of life in the tire, because the off-road tires are generally softer, got softer compounds, so they can grip better, especially over like rocks and sand and a lot of different terrain that you might encounter. While road tires, you want it to be stiffer and thicker rubber, so they last longer.
I'm going to take a hot take here really quick. I'm just going to say it. After having the tires on my bike for so long, I do not recommend the Michelin Anarchy Adventures.
Yeah,
they don't feel good on the road. Because you know, like the bike that when I got it, because again I was the second owner, it had some like some Shinko tires on it, you know, and like they probably weren't the best tires, but like I could feel what the tire was doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you know, if you're right, and like so going to a lean on the road, it's just like I'm planted.
Yeah,
and like, or it's like, okay, like, that's a little too much. It's, you know, lean up.
Yeah.
These Anarchy Adventures, not Wilds, Adventures, don't get them, because like I just don't know what the bike's doing. And so like if I'm going at speed and I start to lean, it's like I'm leaning pretty far. It's like I can't tell what the tire's like doing. So I don't recommend them. You know, but like again,
Trail Max missions, baby.
I think I was gonna say I think I'm gonna actually get the Trail Max missions, because
I've been really happy with them.
They're expensive, but you've gotten a lot of life out of them. And we do very similar riding.
Yeah. So you probably get about the same amount of life. Like I will say, like with at least the missions, the only thing is like they're really like I forgot what they're rated. I think they're rated like
70/30,
60/40.
Mine?
No, mine.
Oh, yours.
Yeah, the missions.
Oh,
so
the missions.
60 off.
I said Michelin.
The 60 off roads, and then that's like 40 off road. And on mine, like with those kinds of tires, you do get a compromise. They're not going to have the best on road grip, and they're not going to have the best off road grip.
Yeah.
But they'll they'll allow you to ride both, not super aggressively,
right?
But within reason,
it's like more of a jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly. And I do know, like mine on corners, they kind of feel not like loose or anything like that, but they do feel kind of they're just there. I don't feel like I can lean quite as far as I could with like street tires.
But the thing is, like, you can feel that kind of your bike, right?
Yeah.
Like you can be like, okay, I can feel like this is as far as I can take the bike.
Yeah.
Like with mine, it's just like I want to go faster.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm just like where am I with these tires? Like, am I about to low side? Like, what is happening? You know.
And so for my tires, I remember like when I was ordering a new pair, I just decided to like scroll through some of the reviews on like Revzilla before. Well, I bought them at a dealership, but I was like just checking the pricing out on Revzilla and reading reviews. Some people have glowing reviews. They're like, oh, these are great. They last for like 10,000 miles on my bike, easy. Others saying like, I don't remember like if they mentioned the bike they were riding, but they're like, these feel a little bit like you definitely want to like take it easy on them in like wet weather or in the rain and stuff.
Well, that's why I didn't get the missions when I was getting tires for my bike, is like because the guy at the dealership, he told me that. He's like, hey, like, so these are great tires, so you'll get a lot of life out of them, but because they're a harder compound and cold and wet, you need to like kind of give them a break.
Yeah, Yeah, so that's kind of what I read. I personally I've ridden in the rain and them and stuff more than once. I mean, I rode them out to Colorado where it was cold, wet, and raining on us
the whole time.
A couple of years ago, and I mean, they didn't find it. I never felt like my bike was slipping in the back end or feeling like it was a come out from under me. The only time I slipped on those tires with that oil spill in California.
Did you post that on your Instagram?
I have not.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make Gleb post that video on his Instagram. You should watch that because it was like
it was kind of scary.
I really wish I had my GoPro going at the time because
I would have loved to have seen that third
I've watched
person.
your video and like you can't really tell how bad it was.
Yeah,
because it was all behind you.
Yep.
But from my view, I really wish the GoPro was going because I was like, oh fuck, he's gonna die.
I mean,
that's the second time I've had that thought with you riding.
Yeah, the first one was the sheep. The second time was that oil spill. I will take the sheep. Well, actually, I wouldn't want either of them. By some miracle, the bike did not go down. I did not go down.
Yeah.
It stayed up, whether it's because I had the luggage on the back or I wasn't going super fast. I was going like less than 30 miles an hour. That probably helped a lot too. Yeah. But yeah, it was not a pleasant experience.
Well, and traction control. Those computers are awesome.
Funny enough, I watched the GoPro footage. I did not see the traction control light come on.
Oh, really?
At that moment. Yeah. Maybe the bike just already like found the grip and kind of
just figured
before the traction control could kick in.
Yeah.
And just because I wasn't going like super fast, it wiggled back and forth quite intensely.
Yeah.
But it just straightened itself back up and kept going.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about what could have happened because it could have been bad.
Yeah.
At best, it would have been like a low side, but at worst, it could have been like almost a high side, but a low speed high side. So it could have just ended up under my bike or the bike just flying right on me instead of over me.
Moral of the story: don't take your BMW cars up canyons.
And another moral of the story is, pick a line and stick to it, and don't cross the middle of the road.
Yep.
On a bike. But anyways, back to the tires. Like that was the only time I really had.
Well, and that was on the road. Like that's not. You can't even put that on the tires, really.
Well, that was like oil. I think most motorcycle tires would probably like struggle in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Especially like racing slicks or really aggressive street tire or really smooth street tires. And then off road, they always felt pretty decent. I feel like I get enough grip. Granted, in California, at least, I was riding on very fresh tires.
Yeah.
But I would always get grip. I did have a couple of times where I could feel my front wheel kind of getting a little loosey in the silt back and forth. But overall, I was very happy with them off-road.
Yeah. And again, I guess I should put a disclaimer about the Anarchy adventures that I have. It was my fault. I did not consider my tire build for the trip that we were doing. I knew we were going to be doing parts of the BDR.
Yeah.
And I didn't neglect it. I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I just did not think of it.
Yeah.
And then we get out on that silty stuff and my bike was everywhere.
And on the rocks.
Yeah, on the rocks where I had to turn around.
I feel like on the rocks, especially with yours, like they're just not luggy enough.
No, they're too
grip.
Flat. Yeah.
Grip those rocks properly.
But and again, I can't fault the tires. They're 70/30s, right?
Yeah.
I can't fault them for not performing well in some pretty aggressive off road.
Yeah.
But I will fault them that I don't know what they're doing on the road either. So don't buy them. Don't buy them.
But let's reel it back into kind of the topic.
Yep.
How much? So you said you spent about close to $500
for car tires, and then for the bike, I think it was like $470.
That's about what I spent on my car.
And that's not including to get them installed.
Yeah. So you'll also have to pay them to get them installed. So if you're new to riding, and if you're thinking oh yeah, motorcycle is going to save me a ton of money instead of driving and stuff.
It won't.
Maybe it will.
No,
depending on where. But
in America, it will not.
Just know that motorcycle tires are pricey.
Yep.
Maintenance, however, can be. Should we move on to maintenance? Do you have any more?
Yeah, I think we've gone on our soap opera enough about tires, but motorcycle tires are expensive for no reason.
Yep.
There's less tires, and they cost as much as car tires.
I feel like part of it is there's less demand for them as well.
Could be.
So the price they're priced a little bit higher.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's some material science that goes into it, that, you know, the compounds and stuff for motorcycle tires are probably like a bit different than car tires.
I guess, and I think like where we're here, we're bitching about the price of tires. You know, it's like, you know, you can shop around. Like Emerson, he got those Tusk tires or tire, not very expensive if they have them for your if you're into ADV or off roading. Yeah, not bad,
not
really.
bad. So, but then let's move on to like maintenance. Yeah, let's move on to maintenance. So motorcycle maintenance, I feel like, is where it becomes a little bit of a gray area on how expensive or how cheap it can be. Because depending on the bike that you have, it can be dirt cheap to maintain a bike. Like if you have an older bike, if you have like a more basic bike, not talking about like ADVs with fancy like traction control, riding modes and things like that, or even like basic riding modes, really, they can be really cheap and easy to maintain. Like, especially like for basic maintenance, like brake pads, oil changes, air filters, and things like that.
Yeah, they're easy stuff.
Easier than the car for that kind of stuff. Like I've done oil changes on my bike the whole time, other than like the break-in service on my Tiger. Yeah. And the first time I did an oil change on my Honda back when I had that, I found a quick little YouTube video. Took me about an hour maybe to do. Because the engine's it's out there. It's exposed.
It's a Honda. They know what they're doing.
And it's a Honda, Yeah. And so it was like super easy to do. And then same thing with the Tiger. All of my parts, all of the things I need to unscrew are all exposed and easy to reach. So it takes me, you know, just the price of oil, a filter, and a washer, and an hour's worth of my day to like replace to change the oil out. Then the air filter is even easier. I mean, on my bike I did have to take off a couple of the fairings from the side to like get to the screws to get to the air box, but it still took me like 20 minutes tops.
Well, me, who's not very mechanically inclined, I watched a video just out of curiosity, like when I first got my Scrambler, like, all right, how does it take to change the brakes? Yeah, you know. And again, I'm not mechanically inclined, but watching like how few tools it took, and like it's 4 screws, and you pop the pads out of the caliper. Yep. And then you just have to kind of like keep the air out. You know, and it's easy.
It's super easy. Yeah. And you know, then you have like kind of the more basic maintenance, like chain tension and chain just cleaning.
I can do cleaning. I don't know about tension.
The tension, from what I understand, it's pretty easy because there's already like a knob in the back that just kind of moves the tensioner like back and forth. Yeah. I had mine done at the dealership because I took mine in for the 12,000 service, which we'll get to in a second, because that's not the cheap, that's the expensive part of motorcycle maintenance.
Oh yeah, we're complaining about prices right now. Wait till we get the service.
And then, but for a lot of the basic maintenance, and you can do it yourself. It's not that hard, and it can be, you know, you're basically paying for materials at that point. Yeah. And a few hours of your time, depending on what you're doing. The things that I can't do at home, that I can't do, mainly due to like space or tool limitations and stuff, is like I can't change my own tires. I don't have the tools or machine or a way to like prop my bike up enough to take the wheel off. Yeah. Don't have access to that. So I just would rather just take it somewhere and have them put them on, or better yet, just buy them at the dealership and have them put them on.
And you have to balance the tire too.
Yeah. You know, just stuff like that. I'm like, I don't have the tools to do that at home. Yeah. I don't want to do it at home. If I needed to change like a light bulb, probably figure that out. Yeah. If I needed to,
wait, do you have replaceable bulbs on your bike?
I have never done that.
I thought it was just plug and play, like LED stuff.
I have no idea, but you got to get to them if they go out. Somehow you got to get to them somehow if they go out.
I think if like many of my indicators went out, I would just buy new indicators and plug them in.
Maybe, yeah. So I don't know. I never had any of them go out, so I don't know exactly how that works. But I've adjusted. Like I dropped my bike once, and I needed to replace the fairings. Yeah, it was just pop the old ones off, put the new ones on. Like a lot of stuff on bikes.
How much did that fairing cost you?
It was like $100
for a piece of plastic.
For a piece of plastic that was painted white.
Motorcycling is not
cheap. But it's just things like that where it's, you know, it's some things you can do and they're super basic and you can probably do at home. Yeah. If you are doing your own motorcycle maintenance, biggest thing I recommend getting is torque wrench. Get like one that can go from very, very small amounts of torque to pretty decent, because a lot of those little parts, they don't need a lot of torque. You're talking like less than 10 pound-feet of torque. So it's just super, super light. But especially on essential components like the drain plug for the oil, the oil filter, anything involving the engine or the frame, you want to make sure it's torqued to spec.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like the initial investment can be a little bit more, but then the overall maintenance, you can save a lot of money.
Yeah. And for those who, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on podcast, but I don't see why I would have. But our friend Emerson, who's been on with us twice now, he's helped me with my oil changes because he has a garage, a flat space to change oil. Where I'm in an apartment complex, I don't really have that space. But the first time changing the oil was a massive pain in the ass.
On yours.
Yeah. And I do want to preface this, right? Because I have the Bonneville engine, the Bonneville 1200 engine in there, where like the oil fill cap is on a regular Bonneville, it's super as easy as a Honda. Super easy. There's nothing complicated about it. But because I have the scrambler with the high pipe, the fill cap is behind and below the exhaust. So the first time we were like, we don't have like a drain or anything to like get this in.
Yeah.
So we took the exhaust off, and I don't know why, but that exhaust has so many screws, so many screws to get that thing off. It was such a pain. But this time, like I actually bought like a pump.
Yeah.
So like you screw it onto the oil can and you just pump. Took forever still took forever, but I didn't have to take the exhaust off.
At least there's that.
But now when I went to, I don't know why I went to AutoZone. I needed something, not like after we got back from our trip.
Yeah.
I really can't remember why I went to AutoZone, but they had like a funnel, like with like a little hose. So I've got that now. So my next oil change it'll still take some time because it's ribbed. The hose is ribbed.
Yeah.
For the bike's pleasure.
Exactly.
Yeah. But like, so it'll still take time to pour the oil through it, but it's going to be, there's no manual pumping.
That's good.
There's no removing of exhausts.
So it should be much easier, hopefully.
Yeah. And the prices of like taking the bike to get it serviced
it's not worth it
for an oil change. No,
not worth it.
Just do it yourself.
Just do it yourself. It's way easier unless you have like a weirdly complicated bike. But
yeah, so I'm just going to be I'm buying a torque wrench. Me and Emerson did have some trouble getting the filter off, so I'm going to buy like a filter wrench.
I have one of those.
Yeah.
Super, like $10 on Amazon. Easy purchase.
Easy. Yeah.
So some maintenance are cheap, but then you get into things like the valve check.
Welcome to reality now.
Which I recently had to do. And honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like my valves didn't need adjustments. So if I didn't get one, everything would have been fine. The engine would have been the same. But from what I've heard, like, I don't know, I've heard multiple like things where, you should do the first one at least because they're more likely to be misaligned
on the first one. That's like, especially if you bought the bike brand new, they're going to be like, still working, like the engine's, that's the first time it's been like working. Yeah.
And then I've seen some people say like, oh, you should skip the first one and get like the next one because they'll be more likely, whatever. But
listen to your Uncle Bob.
I was like, you know what? It's my first one. It's a brand new bike. I'll just go do it. It was $900. I did not have him do the oil change because I just recently did it.
Right.
I did not have him do like brakes or anything like that, even though they offered. And I was like, I'll probably be fine. I probably will get like the brake fluid changed at the dealership just because I don't really want to mess with that myself, especially brakes, like safety reasons. I'm like, I can probably do it, but I'd rather just have someone else do it so I don't mess up my braking power or whatever. But yeah, it was like $900, and then I had to put the tires on, which was like $20 per tire. So overall, with tax, it was like $1,000 for the valve clearance check. My valves did not need adjusting. That would have cost more, plus the price of shims. But
yeah,
it's labor intensive. And I watched a video. I found a video online of a guy doing the valve check himself on a Triumph Tiger, and you have to take off the fuel tank. You pretty much have to strip the entire front of the bike off. You have to take the top of the engine off just to get to the valves. And I'm like, there is no way in hell am I doing that.
No, I don't.
It's going to take me more than one day to do it. My time is worth.
I mean, and the likelihood of fucking up.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
and I would just be paranoid that, like, even if I did put together and it looked okay, I would be paranoid that I messed up somewhere along the process. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that.
Is your bike still under warranty too?
Nope. That warranty expired earlier, couple months ago.
Gotcha.
Maybe like some bikes, if it was like an old like dual sport Honda, I'm probably fine. I would probably just
some
take
beater that you don't
some
care
beater
about.
or something like that. I would probably just do it myself, just because I'm like, this would be a good learning opportunity. I can try it myself.
Depending on the condition of the bike.
Depending on the bike.
You could just be like, man, the valve check service is more than the bike's value. Like, I'm not doing that.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, I'll learn something. I'll learn something about like motorcycle engines here.
Yeah.
That's fine. But for my one and only bike that was not cheap to buy, I'm like, okay, I'll take it in.
Yeah.
But I will say for the next valve check, I might push it to like 30,000 miles or something instead of 24. Because unless it starts acting or
and
feeling
I'm
weird.
undecided because like with my bike again, like this will be its first valve service or valve check service.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of open to kind of whatever. It's like, okay, like if it needs adjusting, I'm getting the next adjustment on time.
Yeah.
If not, we'll see.
Yeah.
But again, my bike.
Did they give you a quote on how much it would cost for your bike?
Yeah. So for like the total, like the Triumph package service, I'm looking at like $900 to like $1,200.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But like where they, again, in the Triumph package, and this isn't a dealership, this is Triumph's little thing. Like it comes in a package. Yeah,
they gave me a oil filter and an air filter, even though I just replaced both of those.
Yeah.
That's the other thing they did do is replace my spark plugs.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, it's part of the 12,000 mile service. I'm like, oh, they're gonna have the engine taken apart anyways. Might as well have them do it.
Well, my bike now, it's 5 years old.
Like
it was released and bought by the first guy in 2019. So the bike's been fine. It's been running great mechanically. But again, it's just like what was going on with those first 4,000 miles? Yeah,
who knows?
So it's going to be expensive. So we'll see because it's going to be a lot, and not to mention that it just so happens my valve check service is lining up when I need new tires.
Same here.
Yep,
same here. So it's just a lot of like costs upon costs, and they kind of like can add up quick.
Especially with the labor, because that's going to be it's going to be more labor to put the tires on and do the valve check.
Yeah.
And then whatever else they're going to do with the Triumph package.
Yeah.
I asked him, it's like, okay, like, well, I can do an air filter and spark plugs myself. It's like it'd maybe be about like $500-600, like, but it's a package, so like
you'll still get them anyways.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, screw it.
Yeah. So it's just like. And we do have European bikes, which might cost a little bit more.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm curious to know like how much like a Honda or Kawasaki or a Yamaha would cost for theirs, and especially like here, because we do have we only have one Triumph dealership.
And they're great
in Utah, which they're great. But I would love it if they had like one more,
some incentive,
at least, like,
to lower
a little bit of like
prices.
competition going and stuff. Well. A lot of other brands around here, like especially the Japanese bikes, there's like multiple dealerships.
You can go anywhere you want,
multiple like chains of dealerships that you can go to. So I feel like you can get a little bit more of a competitive price. Not to mention, I feel like there's probably more independent shops that work on like Japanese bikes versus European bikes. I think those are just like more common to find. So you might be able to so your mileage may vary for those big ticket items like the valve check.
Well, ours do. Like mine's 20,000. Yours is 12. So I got a little bit more distance. Than you.
But even then, like if you have more mechanics that work on your brand of motorcycle, or if you have more dealerships, you might have a lower price just because then you can kind of shop around and be like, well, this place can do it. So they'll do it for $100 less. You're going to go there versus like going only to the dealership.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find any other really Triumph mechanics. I was like,
there was one other place where I took when I had my And again, the only reason I really took it to this other place
for the fork seals, right?
Is for the fork seals, but I took it to the other place because it was the timing. I was going to be waiting like a month.
Yeah,
if I took it to it either.
And that's the other thing is like fork seals and stuff. Those things can go out. That's another maintenance item they got to like watch out for.
Oh, I should look. I should try to find out. I can't remember how much that was. Oh wait, no, it didn't cost me anything because it was under the warranty.
Okay, yeah. So that's like another thing. So there is some expense to owning a motorcycle and maintaining it. Is it more than a car? I can't really say because, I mean, a car doesn't need a valve clearance check, but a car has heaters that can go out. It has the AC that can go out. It has like water pumps.
All the stupid sensors that do nothing.
A lot of stuff that can go out on a car that probably cost the same or more than like routine motorcycle maintenance. And a car costs more in general if you get a brand new one. But, but saying like a motorcycle is something that will save you a ton of money I feel like it's not always the case either, especially if you ride it every single day.
Yeah.
And there's just costs associated with it.
Yeah. My silly monkey brain when I was getting into wanting a motorcycle was like, I'm going to save so much money on gas during the summer, spring, and fall.
You just ride it more.
You just ride it more.
You spend money on gas anyways. Maybe if you're commuting back and forth, you'll probably save compared to a car because my bike gets 50 miles per gallon while my Camry gets 30.
No, I mean, and to that point, I when I got my first bike, when I was working in an office, I was riding pretty much every day on my bike. I rode my bike in January to work just because I was like, I love motorcycle. I'm going to ride. Like I did it. It was fine, but it was cold. So it's like, that kind of thing. I think during that time I did save a little bit of money, but then like, just kind of like real talk. It's like the allure wears off after a while.
Yeah.
You like, I don't know about you. I've been riding a lot less. Like in terms of like riding to work, or it's like, oh, I'm off, the day's over, work's done. It's like, I'm going to go for a little like ride. I do that way less now.
Oh yeah. Same here.
And I think it's okay. But like, I just, in terms of like being my commuter.
Yeah. Occasionally I'll ride my bike to work, especially now that I like work much closer to where I live.
Yeah.
And then I'll do like a loop up in the mountains after work, like after leaving the office before coming home, just for fun to kind of switch it up. But I mean, for me, I have to like, my job has a dress code and things like that. And I'm like, and plus in the summer, it's hot. Goddamn hot. It is well over 100 degrees for like all of July in Utah. By the time I even wheel my bike out of the garage, I'm already breaking sweat. And I don't want to sit at work like sweaty after just getting there.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of things. It's basically me just being a baby and lazy. I know like some people commute on their bike all the time.
Maybe you're being lazy, but again, I do think, and I've heard it like from other people before, it's like you get in the first few years you're riding any chance you can get. Know? But I think like it just kind of does like wear off after a while.
Kind of with any new activity, I think.
Yeah, and again, like Emerson, he rides his bike pretty much every day to work, and like which is great and awesome. It's just like I think one of my problems is like, well, I went remote. Yeah, so like I don't. Yeah,
I'm still in the office, but I don't want to deal with the heat and all that, and gearing up to get to work and then gearing down when I'm there. And all that kind of stuff. Like if I don't have any plans on riding afterwards, I probably won't do it. Sometimes I will in case I want to just do a quick one. But on weekends, it's been a minute since I've ridden, I will do like, even if I don't have that much time or wasn't planning, I might do like an hour loop up in the mountains and then back down if I get a chance, if it's been a minute. But yeah, I feel like compared to like that first year, me and you like started riding together. Yeah, we would do like, a ride like
on a weekend.
We would do like a weekend ride like every weekend pretty much. We're like, oh, let's head up to Bear Lake, let's do this and this and that. Like
Tabiona.
Like, full on like day rides. And we haven't done too many of those this year, but you injured your knee, which sucks.
Yeah, I still can't ride.
That. I injured my knee, not as bad, but I don't know if I will be confident enough to like doing off-road with my knee right now because I won't get into why. I tripped basically and hurt my knee.
Which it's better than me. I walked into a fire hydrant.
Yeah,
so.
Like I could walk after and stuff, but like now I feel like my tendon hurts. But back to cost savings, like it is one of those things, like you do save some money on gas. Like I feel like our trip to California probably would have cost a lot more in a car versus a bike.
So I in my personal experience is that it has not saved me any money. It's cost me more money than it's ever saved me in gas.
Same, because I just keep buying shit for my bike.
And that
not only that.
Oh, go ahead.
Gear.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, okay, and into the next facet of motorcycle
and
life.
If you are buying motorcycle gear, be sure to use our Revzilla affiliate link in the description below.
We will save you some money.
You won't save any money.
Oh wait, you're right. Yeah.
Unless there's a sale. Yeah. Then you'll just save money in general. But you will help us and support the podcast because we'll get a little bit of share of your purchase. So feel free to use that if you are shopping for gear.
It won't cost you extra.
It won't cost you extra.
That's what I meant. I'm really starting to feel that beer. That 8.5%.
But the gear is also another expense. When I bought my first bike, I probably spent an extra $1,000 on gear. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the stimulus checks. Great stuff. But it's a lot. It was $1,000. My helmet alone was $600. The jacket was $300. The pants were like another $250. The boots were another like $180, and I bought ADV boots, which were another $300. That's over $1,000 in gear just there. And gear comes in various prices. You can get stuff. And you can get some decent helmets. We've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. We have a safety ratings episode, like I think sometime last year.
It was in June, I think. It was this year.
I don't think it was in June.
Maybe not June, but it was this year.
Okay. Yeah. Well, further back, we do have an episode where we talk about safety ratings, and you can get properly certified helmet for like $200 to $300. Mm-hmm. But more expensive helmets just give you nicer creature comforts. More expensive gear gives you more creature comforts. It might be made out of like more breathable material or more like comfortable material.
So you took like the hit financially to get the gear you wanted when you started riding, right?
Yeah. Okay. I went pretty much all in. I went like buy once, cry once, which is what I do for a lot of like technical gear because outside of motorcycling, like I do, I snowboard, I go hiking, like for all of that kind of like technical gear. Yeah. I've always been in the mindset, like I'd rather spend more now and have this gear last for like years to come. Versus like, oh, let me just get a super cheap one and see where it goes.
And I'll back that up by saying I did the opposite. I was like, this is a hobby. Again, I did not know what this was going to do to me. Yeah. Starting to ride. So I bought like a $300 helmet, some HJC thing. It was massive. Like it fit, but it was just like a big bulky helmet, You remember that thing? Mm-hmm. So that was like $300, and then I ended up getting like the 150 like Senna plug-in thing for it. Yeah. So I'm sitting at like $450 for that helmet right there. Spent $150-ish around there for that like first jacket I had, you know. And then my gloves, which actually, they're down there. My first gloves, I think they're like $70, $60. And I don't even remember how many stupid pants I bought. Like,
it just adds up. And
but anyway, my point to that was, I was like, so I didn't do the buy once, cry once. I was like, I'm going to save some money. But in the time since I've been riding, I have owned 3 helmets. I've purchased 3 helmets. The first one, the GT Air 2 down there, and then the Hornet X2 over here. Yeah. So it's just like that. I spent a lot of money.
I'm still on my first helmet.
See, exactly. So I'm very much, that was a life lesson I learned through motorcycling is like, just buy what you want. Yep. Don't try to save, like, honestly, like, don't try to save money, which is I'm not giving you financial advice.
Like,
this is not financial advice, but just buy what you want. Don't try to save money because motorcycling is a pretty vain activity. Yeah. You're going to buy it anyway.
Keep buying stuff for it. But like, if you are more budget conscious, there's plenty, like motorcycle gear ranges has such a big range of pricing. Like jackets alone, you can get one for $100. You can get one for $1,000. Yeah. Helmets, you can get one for $200. You can get one for $1,000. Yeah. Like they have a wide range. So it's really like personal choice of what you want in your gear,
what you consider a creature comfort,
and what you consider like comfortable. If you're comfortable in it, by all means, like get what's comfortable for you.
Yep.
For me, it just happened to be stuff that was a little bit pricier on the pricier end, especially if I wanted like something technical for like adventure riding and stuff.
Yeah.
For my like city summer jacket, it was $180. It wasn't that, or it was like $200 for the Revit Airwave, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
My adventure jacket, $400. Like there's a big difference, and it kind of depends on what you ride, but
Yeah.
that's like another cost associated with, owning a motorcycle.
Yep.
Is the gear. And then one final thing is accessories for your bike. So depending on the kind of bike that you have or what you're planning on doing with it, you'll probably be tempted to buy some accessories for it.
Gleb, how much were your bags?
My bags were $1,700.
Jesus Christ.
That's including the racks. They were Moscow bags, and everyone loves them. They were pricey, but I really enjoyed having them on the trip because I do think they're a little heavy. That's kind of like the big downside, but they're utility-wise, they are very, very utilitarian, very, very useful. Did I have to buy ones that are that expensive? No. But did I want them? Yeah. And I can move them to other bikes.
And you could afford them.
bike. I could afford them.
Yeah.
And I'll probably keep them for as long as I ride motorcycles until they literally fall apart. So it's kind of a investment, sort of.
Yeah, and like, I can't afford that. But I am looking at the Moscow rackless because after our trip, can't remember if I mentioned it in our trip review, but I'm just over tying bags down with rock straps, and putting the cargo net is such a hassle.
That's one of the big reasons why I wanted to get these specific Moscow bags with the racks. Yeah. Because you can just slide them off the rack, carry them into the room. Yeah. Same thing with the rackless, because I did look at that. Yeah. Like you have the outer bag where you just take the inside bag out, take it inside the room. Yep. Similar concept. So it's kind of like you're paying for the comfort, you're paying for the convenience. Yeah. You don't have to spend that much money.
And the rackless is not $1,700.
It is not. It is much cheaper and also lighter.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just one of those things,
But that's another cost on the horizon on top of my valve check and my tires. Now I'm looking at a $700-800 bag system.
Additionally, what else I got for my bike? I got crash bars. Engine guards for my bike. I got a beefy ass skid plate.
Yeah, that thing came off a tank.
Engine guard. That thing is chunky, which I'm fine with it. You can already see dings on it from like riding off road. It's doing its job.
Yeah, it's doing. Yeah.
And it's. I feel like I would consider a skid plate almost like an expendable part, because eventually it's probably gonna either hit something hard or it might just need to be replaced in general.
Oh, it's armor for your bike. Yeah. So it's like you got your back and elbow and shoulder armor.
Yep. It's like armor for the bike. Same thing with the engine guards. Yep. I got bark busters for mine because the stock handguards on my bike kind of suck.
Well, and they broke.
And one of them broke because I dropped it. Things like that. Like there's aftermarket parts you're most likely going to get for your bike. Yeah. Because you either realize like, oh, hey, this would be nice to have, or hey, in order to use this bike how I want it, I need this specific item.
Yeah. Well, and like, for us doing our long trips, right? Like we both bought the sheepskin for our seat. Yeah. For just like a little more airflow and comfort. Mine, I think, did a really good job. My ass was still very sore and chafed, but I can't imagine how much worse it would have been.
Mine, I didn't really feel like
mine's more puffy than yours. But again, like that was like $120, $100. Yep. No, that's not like, it's not breaking the bank, but that's still a lot of money.
It's still money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. Like, it's not a lot to have. It's a lot to spend.
Yeah. And then, then there's like also like chain maintenance and cleaning supplies and things like that.
How many freaking chain brushes have broken on me?
Mine, I still have my original.
I don't understand that.
I don't know which ones you bought or used, but
it's the freaking Stockton ones. I've broken 3
I have
chain
2
brushes.
of them because I bought like a Motul like chain clean and lube pack, and it came with a brush. So,
well, I just went ahead and
very aggressive.
I don't think so.
Do you clean your chain as aggressively as you brush your teeth?
I don't know. But I did end up getting like, it cost more, but it also cost about the same price as like the 3 brushes I broke. Yeah. But I bought a metal one and it has not broken yet. Yeah. And that reminds me, I still need to clean my chain. I washed my bike. I haven't cleaned my chain.
I did both 2 weeks ago.
All right. Well, once I can kneel.
That's fair. But I can't really think of any. I guess in summary,
Yeah.
if you made it this far, because we're well over an hour at this point.
Oh yeah.
If you made it this far into the episode, motorcycles, after buying the bike, there are additional costs associated with them, but there's a great variance in how much you want to spend when it comes to gear, accessories, and maintenance for your bike.
Yeah.
But if you are like buying a bike, or if you're thinking like, oh, this is going to be significantly cheaper than anything else I do, it might not always be the case, because when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to those kinds of things, budget an extra bit of money.
It adds up
for that. If you're if you're mechanically inclined, you're comfortable doing the stuff yourself, you can save a lot of money on a lot of the services and stuff. But, that really depends on you. Mm-hmm. For me, oil changes, brake pads, things like that, I'm pretty confident that I can do. Any valve checks, brake fluid change, coolant, like I'd probably take it to a dealership.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably would too.
So it just kind of depends on the bike you have and
your skill level
and what you're comfortable with, to see where you can kind of like save money and spend money.
Yeah.
And, and it's also kind of one of those things, the more expensive the bike, the more complicated it is, the more expensive the maintenance on it is going to be compared to, like a cheap or older bike.
And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it was like, and as far as gear goes too, again, I will say, I do believe motorcycling is a very vain hobby. You want to look good while you do it. You want a good looking bike.
Do, yeah.
I own 3 pairs of riding pants, like between the Airwaves, the 2 climb pants I have, and I still have those Revit pants that I don't wear anymore.
Yeah.
The boots, like I've got some air shoes. I got some waterproof, like more like street looking shoes, and then I got 2 pairs of ADV boots.
I got 1 pair of those.
Yeah, well, the Triumph ones I got because they were on sale for like $100, and I was like, I can't not buy it. I can't afford not to get these.
Stuff just adds up.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like picking and choosing what and where you want to spend money on.
Oh, but I thought of something very quickly. Also, maybe I'm more guilty of it than you, but like the branded merch too. Like I wear my Triumph shirts. I wear.
You do have a lot more
hats,
of that stuff.
That jacket I got myself for my birthday last year.
I have a Triumph hat and a Triumph shirt.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Mainly because I think most of that stuff is overpriced, and it's not like it's not beneficial to the ride itself. No, it just looks cool.
I just like it.
Yeah.
Speaking of shirts, really quickly, since we're about to wrap up, this shirt, my Scrambler shirt, brand new. There's a lovely man on Instagram, Scrambler Tales. He has a Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE, and he's been doing these amazing off-road ADV trips solo. It was his videos and stuff that kind of set me up to or got me in my mindset of I'm gonna look at that rackless system, because with that high exhaust, it's hard to get good luggage, So, but he's been super great. He messaged me when I bought it. Very responsive. I got it in less than a week. So
very cool.
If you have a Scrambler or you like Scramblers, Scrambler Tales on Instagram. I'm actually, this shirt is awesome actually.
Yeah,
so,
it looks dope.
And we're not sponsored. I'm just doing this because I like the shirt. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's all I had for the economics of owning a bike.
Yeah.
It can be as cheap or as expensive as you make it. It also kind of depends on the bike that you have.
I think it's going to be expensive no matter what you do, but you have some control of how expensive it's going to be.
Fair enough.
So,
and that's it.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.